Embryonic fluid and blood from the waist down, diarrhea from the top of my head to the bottom of my t-shirt. I was ducking covered, and it was all mixing together to accumulate in the bottom of my muck boots. What's the most disgusting thing you've ever done in your life? Welcome back, Pretendo. It's me, Andrew, here to narrate another awesome storytime for you. Since you're already here, why don't you like the video, subscribe, and ring that MF notification bell? I will reveal the amount of money you simped on e-girls if you don't. Alright, let's get into the video. Also, this storytime may be disturbing for some people, so be advised. Wasn't me who did it, but my 1-year-old daughter ate the scabby stub of my newborn son's umbilical cord. When I was broke, I was living off of 20-pound bags of rice. Well, one morning I start the rice cooker while I take a shower. I come back out to find my rice has a ton of tiny cockroaches in it. So, I figured I could use the protein and ate it anyways. Ate a tub of ice cream between me and a guy who had potential. He kissed me after and things escalated. About 10 minutes later, he's ducking my throat with reckless abandon when he decides to see how long he can hold me down on it for. Cue the return of the ice cream. He said it was still really cold when it came back up, and his dick looked like a ducked-up mini milk. Edit. Apparently, I should clarify, no, he was not an asshole. I was into it right up to the point where I had to apologize for the mess. I was a caretaker for mentally challenged people for a while. Once we suspected that this guy had eaten a rubber glove, and to be sure we had to give him an enema to see if something came out. People who are severely handicapped and stuck in a wheelchair don't have bowel movements that often. Sometimes they can go close to a week before things start moving. That was the case with this guy. He hadn't taken a crap for like 5 days before this. He was given the enema in the bathroom and a few minutes later gave birth to a beanbag chair-sized turd on the floor. I then went to the kitchen and got a fork which I used to mince up the crap like I was portioning out a humongous sloppy Joe. The glove wasn't there. I didn't eat for like 3 days after that. I was sneezing like crazy and didn't know why. I tried Piriton and it did nothing. I didn't feel unwell either, so just rolled with it. A couple of days later, I was round a friend's house and really sneezed hard, and a little curly noodle came out of my nose. I pulled on it slowly and it slid out all wiggly, which set off my gag reflex. I just managed not to puke on my friend's floor, but I wanted to. It measured about 5 inches stretched out. It was from Chinese food I ate 4 days prior. Had food poisoning and was throwing up and diarrhea at the same time. I couldn't sleep because it would happen every 10 minutes. So I slept naked on the bathroom floor with no rugs so I could clean the diarrhea leaking out of my ass easier when I eventually woke up in the morning. Edit. I was so sick I didn't even think to get in the shower. Don't have a tub. I also don't know if I would have fit laying across it. I had to manually remove a giant turd that wouldn't come all the way out and was stuck about a quarter of the way. After struggling for half an hour, I finally just reached up there and started coaxing it out with my fingers. The feeling of relief was indescribable, but was overshadowed by the fact that I felt strangely violated in some way. It was the consistency of modeling clay, only maybe a little harder. It ended up looking like petrified wood. I had to break it up so it would flush. I actually thought about taking it out of the toilet and throwing it in the trash at one point. Don't do opiates, kids. I got the norovirus. Came down with it during a trip to IKEA. Made it home, but ended up with an immediate need to throw up and have violent diarrhea at the same time. I ended up on the toilet with a plastic bag in my lap for me to barf in. But the bag had a couple tiny holes in it, so it ended up with little streams of puke going in 2 directions. Added bonus. After everything subsided, I blew my nose and half an IKEA meatball came flying out. Should probably use a throwaway but duck it. I dip, and usually I have a styrofoam cup filled with a paper towel to spit into and one filled with water to drink from. Now you may think you know where this is going, but stick with me. I keep the 2 cups on opposite sides of my desk, and one day I got to doing what guys normally do, a masturbation. When I finished, I figured it would be easy to just put my remnants into the dip cup, which I didn't plan to use anymore and was going to promptly throw away. Before I had the chance though, I started playing Rocket League. Mid-Rocket League game I went to take a drink of water, instinctively swallowed, and came to the all too sudden and dark realization that I had just swallowed a mouthful of skeet and dip spit. I vomited on my floor almost immediately and spent the next hour in the bathroom trying to cleanse myself of my past. That is by far the most disgusting thing I've ever done, aside from beer bonging a beer I threw up. And Scotty, if you see this, don't think less of me, friend. Woke up in the middle of the night with a runny nose and while laying there had the urge to sneeze. I was tightly wrapped in my bedding and didn't want to let cool air under the blankets, so I turned my head to sneeze into the wall. A second sneeze was coming, and I had the thought that if I aimed it at a different area of the wall, it'd make less mess somehow, so I did. But I didn't have a runny nose of snot, it was a bloody nose, and I woke up in the morning to a crime scene covering about a quarter of my bedroom wall. Non-sexual. My ex-wife was sick, with horrible rolling around on the ground stomach cramps. My ex was not a person that could make herself throw up on command. So, we got her hunched over the toilet and I jammed 2 fingers down her throat. Instant gushing of a full stomach onto my hand into the toilet. Worth it, as she felt so much better. Sexual. Not really my fault but pretty disturbing to me at the time. Had just finished anal sex with my girlfriend. She had run off to the bathroom to evacuate as I had finished in her. While she is in the bathroom, I am laying on the bed, enjoying the afterglow, eyes closed. Suddenly I feel an intense discomfort on my member. She had a new kitten that was light enough to jump on the bed without me noticing. For whatever reason, the kitten decided I needed a cleaning in that area. You know how cats' tongues are like sandpaper? And guys are really sensitive right after? So suddenly I am in the shower and my girlfriend is running around trying to catch her kitten so she can clean his mouth out. When I was in the army, my unit left for a few weeks for some training. When we returned, we saw a wasp nest up by our company area, so naturally we knocked it down and threw it into the grass behind the building. Next day after PT we find the nest in the grass, has a bunch of dew from the night before on it, and no wasps. Because we're a bunch of stupid grunts, it immediately became a bidding war to get another one of our guys, Hughes, to eat it, which eventually he agrees for the price of $40. Pops it into his mouth, chews for maybe a minute, and pops a few larvae still inside, and immediately throws it back up, right into my hand. Without missing a beat I hear my squad leader shout out, "Now you eat it, assert your dominance over him." And that's how I earned $40, a half-drunk Dr. Pepper, and dominance over my entire company, who watched me eat that half-chewed and vomited wasp nest. It's also how I can guarantee my fiancé won't kiss me for a few hours, because she hates that story. Grunts are stupid, it's in our nature to do stupid things. I was at work one day, going through a herd of cows during the calving season. The boss man sighted one that was about 8 months pregnant, or had been up until this point. The cow had begun to spontaneously abort the calf. The embryo, still in the bag, was 70% out of the vagina and hanging loosely. Obviously this was a situation that had to be corrected, and we were a good mile away from the barn and the head gate within, and on rough terrain to start with. Being the low man on the totem pole, I was, naturally, tasked with following behind the cow to drive her towards the barn. Boss man stayed up on the ridge, watching from afar with his binoculars and cell phone in hand. So I followed the cow through the briar patches and hollers, and we were getting along pretty good. It was a hot summer day, and I'd driven the animal out of the shade trees. Between the heat and physical distress, I knew she wasn't going to make it to the barn on the far side and bottom of the ridge. So I said to hell with it and called the boss. We talked it over while the cow rested and decided not to stress her any further. That meant I had to walk up to the top of the hill and get some of those shoulder-length disposable gloves and a lasso and clean her out where she stood beneath an oak tree. The cow was docile enough I was able to toss the rope across her head and tie her off to a low-hanging branch without much fuss. Then I gloved up and got to work. The calf was coming out tail first, a breech birth, and long since dead. Working my hands into her birth canal, I was able to get enough of a hold on the sack to get a good grip. I braced my feet, and with 2 or 3 good pulls, I got the calf out. The sack burst upon hitting the ground, soaking my legs in embryonic fluid. Hot, slimy, fresh embryonic fluid and blood. Bad enough, right? I bent over, catching my breath. Pulling a calf by hand ain't easy. The cow crap. The cow coughed. At the same time, giving the runny fecal matter a bit of pressure as it came out. At this time the top of my head was about at the same level as her asshole. Embryonic fluid and blood from the waist down, diarrhea from the top of my head to the bottom of my t-shirt. I was ducking covered, and it was all mixing together to accumulate in the bottom of my muck boots. Nastiest goddamn thing I've ever done in my life. The boss man laughed while he used the pressure washer at the barn to halfway hose me off before giving me the rest of the day off. Thanks for watching. What did you think of the story time? Let me know in the comments below. If you liked the video, smash that like button and subscribe so you don't miss any more story times.